Assalamu Alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inshallah, this is not going to be a long talk, bi'idhnillah, and I hope to make it as interactive as possible, not among yourselves, but between yourselves and me. So try to cut down the conversations, inshallah ta'ala. The title of this talk, as it was given to me, was The Importance of Company. And inshallah, I'm going to start with a hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And as we continue throughout this talk, that one hadith is the central idea that I'm trying to get across. And the hadith is, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, "Al-mar'u ala dini khalilihi falyanzur ahadukum man yukhalil." What that means in simple English is a person depends on the religion of their friend. A person depends on the religion of their friend. So watch out, each of you, who you make a friend, who you make friends with. So in other words, it doesn't matter if you're knowledgeable or righteous or religious or not, your downfall will not come from you necessarily, it'll come from who? Your friend, right? So in this very powerful hadith, the Messenger of Allah ﷺ gave us religious advice, and the advice doesn't have anything to do with worship or spending time learning religion or anything. The essential advice is who you make friends with, right? So it's the center, it's one of the most essential things in our religion, who you make friends with. I'll give you a small example about friendship. I met this person a couple of months ago who was actually in jail a few times. He had been arrested a few times for trying to rob and for drug dealing and things like this. And one of his friends was Muslim, one of his friends. And after getting in trouble so many times, he didn't have a place to stay, so he called up this old friend of his who happened to be a Muslim and said, "Can I hang out with you for a few days? Can I just stay over with you?" So he stayed over with him, and as he spent time with that friend of his, he got introduced to how that friend of his lives a life of Islam, and he actually took Shahada. He became a Muslim, right? And now he's actually, I know him from, he lives in Cincinnati, and because of him, I know at least a dozen people that have become Muslim, right? But this person, the only thing that Allah, Allah is the one who guides, but the only door Allah opened for him that brought him to Islam and made him a vehicle for so many other people to accept Islam, the only thing was a friend. That's all Allah did for him, subhanahu wa ta'ala. He opened the door to a friend. That's all it was. On the other hand, at the same time, one has to be very careful of the wrong kinds of friends. Now, what I'm going to share with you tonight is something I've only talked about before one other time. And that is the different kinds of friends that are talked about in the Quran. The Quran actually speaks about the subject matter of friendship, and gives friends different terms. So there's different Arabic vocabulary that I'm going to be sharing with you. I don't expect all of you to remember it, but I'd be impressed if you did, inshallah. So I'll start with the first one. The first term for a friend or an associate that's used in the Quran is qareen. Qareen, okay? Now it's not used in the best connotation. So I'm going to share with you in what connotation it occurs, before I explain to you what this actually means. قَالَ قَائِلٌ مِّنْهُمْ إِنِّي كَانَ لِي قَرِينٌ. There's a bunch of people that make it all the way to Jannah. They're hanging out together, the best of the rewards are being given to them. In the midst of all their good times, one of them says, I used to have this qareen. I used to have this friend. So this guy's already made it to Jannah, he's hanging out with his new friends, and in the back of his mind, the thought comes, there's this friend I used to have that I used to hang out with all the time. Now I'll tell you a little bit about the word qareen. The word qareen actually comes from another word in Arabic, qiran, which is a rope used in Arabic to tie two camels together. So qareen is a kind of friend that's always with you. They're always spending time with you. They're always calling you. They're always texting you. They're always emailing you. Whenever you get on your email, the first instant message that pops up is theirs, right? So this is the friend that's always, always, always around. Like in college, it could be your roommate, right? The person that's always right next to you. Or the guy that sits next to you in every class in school or something, right? This is your qareen. So this person gets to Jannah and he says, I used to have a qareen. Now come to think of it, I wonder what happened to him, right? And then he says, يَقُولُ, he remembers what his qareen, his really close friend, used to say to him. يَقُول إِنَّكَ لَمِنَ الْمُصَدِّقِينَ. He used to say, man, come on. You pray and you don't look this way or that way, and you don't go to these websites, and you don't have these problems. You don't go to that party that everybody's going to. Really? And you think you're on the right path? You're from the truthful, apparently? So my qareen, my buddy, who used to be he used to live a life of partying, basically. He used to make fun of me because I used to avoid all of those things. Now, keep in mind, when people are friends, they have access to the same things. You know, your friend wants to go play basketball. Before he goes, what does he do? He gives you a call and says, you want to go? Right? He's going to go see a movie or something. Before he goes, or she goes, they're going to call. They're going to say, hey, you want to join me? Right? So when people are really close together, they want to take, when friendship is like that, then whenever one does an activity, he invites the other to that activity. So it seems as though this qira'ah that has been mentioned, what it implies is, most of us, we make friendships based on mutual interests, right? So you make friendships, for example, a lot of my friends I made in high school were people I met on the basketball court. I used to play basketball, these guys came and showed up, and we became friends, right? So we make friends based on mutual interests. So before you turn towards Allah and you leave your life of sin, maybe you used to hang out with these people that did things that aren't exactly pleasing to Allah. But you became close to them. Now they're your friend. But all of a sudden you heard a khutbah or two, or you came into contact with knowledge that affected your heart and you want to change the way you live. You don't want to spend your time doing those kinds of things anymore. But your friends haven't changed. So whenever they want to go hang out, or they want to go play pool at this bar, at near midnight, they call you. For those of you that are younger, your friends want to email you something that they don't want your parents to know about, right? Or they want you to create a profile on Facebook that's kind of secretive, or whatever it may be, right? This, whatever it may be that they invite you to, you say, you know what, I used to be into that stuff, I don't want it anymore. And when you say I don't want it anymore, they're going to probably poke fun at you. Say, come on, what's the matter with you? All of a sudden you're so righteous, you're the sheikh now? You know, come on, I know you. You used to be like, last 2 months ago. Remember? For God's sake, now you're going to act all holy? You know? So they're going to come after you, and this is what the person says. I used to remember he used to poke at me. He used to say, أَإِنَّكَ لَمِنَ الْمُصَدِّقِينَ. And then when I used to say, I'm afraid of hellfire, man. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to do this stuff. The only reason is I don't want to stand in front of Allah on the Day of Judgment. I don't want to be answering for all of these things. All of these moments I spend in questionable environments, all of the things I look at that are questionable, Allah is going to ask me for everything I looked at. يَعْلَمُ خَائِنَةَ الْأَعْيُنِ, He says. He knows even what you steal with your eyes. You look at something inappropriate and you don't think anybody else realized that you were staring. Allah knows you saw it. He knows that too. He knows the stealing of the eyes. وَمَا تُخْفِ الصُّدُورِ, and whatever else the chests are hiding. He knows that stuff. So this believing friend says to this guy who's not so serious about the religion, he says, no, you know what? I'm scared of standing in front of Allah. I don't want to be answerable. So that's why I'm not joining you. I can't do it. Right? So this person turns around and says, come on, أَإِذَا مِتْنَا وَكُنَّا تُرَابًا وَعِظَامًا أَإِنَّا لَمَدِينُونَ. Come on, get real. When we're gonna die, our graves are gonna get eaten, our bodies are gonna be eaten by worms and all kinds of insects, and we're gonna decay. How are we gonna come back to life and Allah's gonna question us? Come on, get real. We're gonna have all this judgment in front of us. There's gonna be a whole record. All of our actions are on some kind of video archive that's gonna be played in front of us. And all of this data is going to come on, please, get real. It's not going to happen. Just relax, man, chill out, let's just go. Right? That's what he used to say to me, and I didn't used to listen to him. Now this person in Jannah, he's with his new friends that are of course now in Jannah, and now they really get to party. Right? So he says to them, hey, you want to see him? You want to see my old friend? هَلْ أَنْتُمْ مُطَّلِعُونَ? You want to see what he's like, how he's doing nowadays? So guess what? They say, yeah. Where's he at? So now the next thing that happens is فَاطَّلَعَ فَرَآهُ فِي سَوَاءِ الْجَحِيمِ. Then he manifested, meaning they get to go, you could almost say like the fence of paradise, and they look over and what's underneath? What's at the bottom? Hellfire. And there's that guy burning there. فِي سَوَاءِ الْجَحِيمِ, in the worst part of the blazing fire. This guy's being burned and tortured. So these used to be close buddies, right? They were hanging out together, they wanted to do everything together, and they were tight, basically, right? And now one of them's looking from paradise into the hellfire, and he sees his buddy from old times, right? And then he looks at him, and he says, قَالَ تَاللَّهِ إِن كِتَّ لَتُرْدِينَ. Man, I swear by Allah. And tallahi is not the same as wallahi. If you have Arab friends, they like saying wallahi, right? But this is tallahi. Tallahi is when you're really shocked, or when you're really scared and terrified or angered, some emotion has overwhelmed you, then you don't say wallahi, you say tallahi instead. Okay, that's a rare usage in Arabic. So he says tallahi, and then he says, basically in English you would say, I swear by Allah, man. Oh my God. You know this expression you have? Oh my God. He sees this guy, and what does he say? In kitta la turdin. You almost made me trip. You almost took me with you. if the word that's used in Arabic here, it's used when you make somebody else, you push somebody else off a cliff. Or you push somebody else into a ditch. Somebody was standing in a risky place, and they would have been okay by themselves, but somebody else comes in, puts them off balance, so they fall with the intention of destroying them. So the guy in Jannah says, man, I almost listened to you. Almost. Thank God I didn't give in. Look at where you are. In kitta la turdin. So it's